Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Colony Drop, a Gundam podcast. My name is Brian.
And my name is Isaac. This is your favorite Gundam podcast where we talk about anything and everything that's related to Mobile Suit Gundam, such as the music, the mobile suits themselves, the gunpla, which are the models, the lore, concepts, ideas, movies, series, anything and everything that is Gundam related. Isn't that right, Brian?
That's correct, Isaac. And I gotta say, we're back. It's been a little while.
We are back. Yeah. Oh boy, it's been a while, Brian. But you know what? We've been really busy, and I think you have important information to tell everybody about the true cause of the eclipse.
The true cause, it was let's see.
It was Eclipse Gundam, Brian.
Oh yes. Yes, it was Eclipse Gundam.
You piloted it. We didn't tell anybody. Only NASA knew. And we put it up in the sky, and it did its work.
I flew by. It disrupted the whole world. I drove millions of dollars into the U.S. economy. Billions, probably. I think I read somewhere it was like having 100 Super Bowls at once.
Wow. How?
Because you get all this money. You get all these people going to all these towns that normally no one would go to.
Oh, I see. Okay, I thought you meant the massive eclipse sunglasses industry that fueled mass job creation and all the logistics involved, and they had to hire truckers to carry all these millions of sunglasses across different state lines.
It does pay to be a manufacturer of those glasses every few years. I'll say that.
I guess so, yeah.
I bought some, yeah. So I did go see the eclipse. I went to Texas. I did post a picture on our Colony Drop Instagram of my son's entry grade RX-78 up against the eclipse, although it was pretty cloudy, so it's really hard to actually see the eclipse there with the Gundam. But
man,
that was my eclipse Gundam for the day. It wasn't the actual eclipse Gundam, but you know.
You know what? I wonder if there's a spike in optometry visits after an eclipse. The people that are foolish enough to look directly at it because I don't need glasses, or if they just look at it with regular glasses.
Well, maybe not trips to the optometrist, but there was that thing, I don't know if you saw, where you can track Google search trends, and basically the day or the week after my eyes hurt was trending, and they charted the region where it came from, and it was exactly the eclipse path.
Of course it was. Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. Oh people.
So don't look at the eclipse. Just like you maybe shouldn't look at this show we're about to talk about.
But yes, listeners, we did take a short hiatus because of the eclipse. And then in addition to that, we've also been making some progress on Gundam the Musical.
Ooh.
If you've ever made a comment in our comment section, you can probably expect some type of message related to that before the end of the year. We'll leave it at that, though, Brian.
Isaac's writing his masterpiece.
I'm going to win a Tony Award. People are going to forget about that stupid musical Wicked.
20 years later, they're going to forget?
Yeah. Whoa, did that come out 20 years ago?
Oh, yeah, it did.
Wow, how do you know when it came out? Did you get dragged to opening night or something?
No, I know because I worked in a movie theater in high school, and Defying Gravity was on the Movie Tunes soundtrack. So every time I cleaned a theater in the year 2003, 2004, wow, I heard Defying Gravity.
Well, you know what? We're going to make a much better song than Defying Gravity. I don't know what it is yet, but we're going to do it.
Should be a hoot. But anyway, so today we are resuming our look, discussion, review at Gundam 00, our arch enemy series, Isaac, the one that we always love to rag on, but everyone apparently wants more of. So we are going to finish this thing out. So last episode we did the first season, and this episode we're going to do season 2. So it's another 25 episodes. And once again, you can watch this on Isaac's pirate ship in the World Wide Web, or you can catch it on Hulu and Crunchyroll. So last time, Isaac, our summary went on way too long, so I got our summary down to 1 page.
Okay. I mean, a lot does happen. This is going to go into it already, but I feel like less happened in this season, but it happened in a much better linear fashion, if you catch my meaning. Is that true?
I felt like a lot happened here in a very short amount of time. I'm not sure if more or less happened in the last one, but I did feel like the spoilers of my review is basically they put together a very fast-paced plot, but I just wasn't buying any of it.
Huh. Interesting. I mean,
they weren't taking me with them, if that makes sense.
You know, I'm just going to say it off the bat. I enjoyed season 2 more than season 1.
I think I did too, but I still didn't really care about anyone at the end of season 2. Then it was what's better, watching 25 episodes of people you don't care about or 50 episodes about people you don't care about? So.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around like the love for this show.
Yeah.
And it's not all universal love. A lot of Gundam comments, not just for our podcast, but other places, they they don't hold back how little they think of this show, even the second season. But like we've said before, Brian, this was Gundam Wing for the 2000s, the original 2000s, and they pretty much kind of sort of followed, maybe not what worked for Gundam Wing, but the rough layout of it, and for whatever reason that clicks with some people. So yeah, there's a sizable number of people that thought this was maybe the greatest season they've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's another one of my comments here gonna be at the end, is it feels very manufactured. And I don't know that that's true. That's just my feeling. For all I could be completely wrong, but it feels like they said, well, I want to hit all these demographics, and I'm gonna construct the perfect Gundam show to try to do that.
Right.
They took the pretty boy characters of Wing, they took the style of Seed. They tried to do like the philosophy of the original show to some extent about, expanding consciousness, and they just tried to like do it all at once. And I don't know, it ended up being this package that I didn't really I could like some parts, but it was a lot of it, the foundation that those parts were built on, I just didn't buy or didn't make sense to me. And I was like, this doesn't make sense to me.
I can relate to that. I still feel like this is a more coherent structure than season one. I have to say I enjoyed some episodes more than others, but overall, yeah, season wise, an improvement over season one. But let's hear your summary, your 1-page summary, and we'll dive right in.
All right, here we go. So season 2 starts. 5 years have passed, Isaac. That's a long time.
Yeah, and I'm surprised. Like, it seems like it's 1 year based on where people are at, sort of.
I agree. It feels too long for what happens, right?
Yeah.
So 5 years pass, and the A-Laws are now in charge. Or actually, I guess it's pronounced the Allahs?
You're right. In the dub that I watch, it's. I mean, we read it right phonetically, and I don't know, Western wise or something, American English, we think, oh, A-Laws, but a lot of the times the characters pronounce it A-Laws, which I always thought that was kind of weird.
It's a pun on Outlaws, I assume. I never realized that until I watched the dub.
Double meaning, I guess. Yeah.
Which is basically the Double O's version of the Titans. So they are now in charge. And the celestial being is nowhere to be found. The Allahs have Graham, Katagiri, Soma, Smirnov's son, Colonel Mannequin. Basically, everyone who is not celestial being is now sort of like neatly aligned in the Allahs. If you thought, oh, there's too many factions before, well, now we only have one.
Yeah, we condensed everyone against celestial being. But did Smirnov have a son in season 1?
I don't remember if they introduced him in season 1, but honestly,
sure they didn't.
I could have done without him the entire show. We could have just dropped that whole plot point.
Oh, yeah, that gets a little Shakespearean, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Setsuna, he's out there apparently. This is the part where I feel like 5 years feels too long, Isaac. Apparently, he's been out there the whole time with his like damaged Exia Gundam.
Yeah.
But he hasn't contacted Celestial Being because like he shows up and they're like, oh, Setsuna's out there. And I was like, it's been 5 years. Like, why didn't he just send him an email? Like...
Yeah.
that also solves another problem that this show has later on, much like my comment from Seed. Oh, and I should say that all of our main characters are sort of dispersed. The only one with Celestial Being when it starts is Tieria. So Setsuna, he's out there though, and he plans to go back to Celestial Being. So he goes out there. With Tieria's help, he accidentally saves Saji. He recruits Lyle Delandi, who is Lock-On or Neil Delandi's twin brother, Isaac. And he's like, hey, you want to be a Gundam Meister? He's like, yeah, sure, why not? He's like, you're Neil's brother. Well, you're probably good too, right? He's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Not a lot of background checking going on there. He wakes up Sumeragi from a drunken stupor, takes her back to the ship. He rescues Allelujah and Marie, who were in this like prison thing. Allelujah jogs Marie's memory and recruits her to the cause, so she's helping them now too. Ribbons now reveals that he has a whole bunch of these Innovade people with him that look sort of similar to him. They have brightly colored hair and weirdly colored eyes, and they are a little androgynous, and they, I don't know, how would you describe the Innovades, Isaac? I mean, at this point, we don't know they're Innovades, right? That we still think they're Innovators.
Yeah, well, he can like Wi-Fi into their brains, and then their eyes do like the little... Like remember when Anakin went evil?
Oh yeah.
They do like the little Sith tie-dye eyes, and they're forced to wear the same ridiculous outfits.
Yes, lots of white.
Yeah, the weird kind of sort of 70s pants with the bell bottoms.
Very cultish.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. But yeah, and of course Ribbons always addresses them from his little, couch of power. It's in like that one room he's always in. They're all young. They're all kind of half creepy, and of course, just like the specials in Oz in Gundam Wing, they're all inconspicuously given a lot of leeway in the military of the Outlaws. They all have
Yeah.
this special license that lets them just do what they want, really.
Yeah, they don't really have to take orders. Several
No.
times they just say, no, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
But Ribbons reveals his plan. Stage 1, unite the world. Stage 2 is to unite the will of the people with the Allahs. Stage 3 is to push humanity to space to prepare for the dialogues to come. And we learn more about that later on in the show. We also meet a new character called Anu. She boards the Ptolemy. She's working with Ian, the mechanic guy now. She's clearly an innovator.
When they introduce her, like the laundry list of her skills, like how did nobody like have a red flag, right?
Yeah, no one's
oh,
like, this doesn't make
sure.
any sense.
Yeah. Sure, random person, you can join us for in the middle of like this war against the Earth's elite military.
Here's all my confidential files.
Yeah, God.
So the Outlaws are this sort of corrupt organization bent on putting out war. They're going to eventually push the envelope too far, but they fire the Memento Mori superweapon several times. This is basically a satellite ring cannon that goes around the world. Is that a fair description? I guess it uses the space elevator ring.
Is it like going around the world? I thought it was essentially tied to like one orbital elevator, sort of a.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. It
structure.
doesn't. Sorry, yeah, it doesn't go around the world, but they do end up having sort of multiple. So
yeah, it has a great range just based on like how high it is in the sky. But you technically one can't hit everywhere in the world. You need multiple different orbital elevators, which was this question I kind of wrote down. Was each Memento Mori, because there's like 3 of them by the end of the series, was each one built at the same orbital elevator, or were they like kind of hopping around? They never really made it too clear, actually. We don't have an answer, I think, right?
yeah, I wasn't clear on that. That's a good question. I'm sure a 00 superfan out there knows.
Of course.
I guess you could pay attention to which orbital elevator they were supposed to be at.
We know the first one was clearly in the African one, I think, because that one could hit the Middle East. And boy, did they hit the Middle East. The Middle East can't catch a break in this show.
No.
I've come to that conclusion.
Just like real life, so.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I mean, just turn on the news.
Yeah, if you're listening to this now in, April of 2024, things aren't going well at the Middle East.
It's not going well.
Anyways, but yeah, I thought it was interesting that like Memento Mori, it's somewhat of a small super weapon. It was essentially a large building, right?
Yeah.
And a large building that they kind of put in space. But yeah, they're able to kind of pump them out each time they need one.
I did like Memento Mori in general.
Right, yeah.
It was a good way to make a super weapon out of their existing lore in the show that was unique to the show, right? Like if they just come out and do a colony laser, that's not exactly groundbreaking. It's a little tired, actually. But here
like Witch from Mercury.
But here they have, like, that is the thing of the show, right? Is the space elevator. So why not use it and turn it into a super weapon? So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, why wouldn't they use a solar-based weapon when they have all the solar energy? That was the next logical step with all the energy they had. But Witch from Mercury, just that stupid laser showing up at the end. And by the way, we built this for communication, but it's really just a weapon.
Yeah, I've kind of blocked that from my memory already, but I love that you learned about the thing and then they fired it all within like 30 seconds. They were like, I have this thing, here it is.
Yeah. But I mean, I almost feel like you could say the same thing about Genesis. Cause
that's probably
that had
fair.
say what you will about the nukes that the Earth Alliance had in Gundam Seed, but like those were telegraphed at the beginning of the series, but there was no Genesis, until like the last 2 episodes.
The factions in Seed, though, I would believe them making a super weapon based on their track record more than what I saw in Witcher Mercury.
Yeah, that's a great point too, because those were an outright war, so of course they're going to develop advanced weapons. But Witch from Mercury, no one was really killing each other.
Yeah, it was a corporate silent war, sort of.
But anyways, back to 00, back to Memento Mori.
Yeah, so after they fire it, obviously Celestial Being has to respond. They get Setsuna gets what's called the O-Riser, which is basically this backpack ship, this backpack plane that docks with the 00 to help stabilize the twin drives. I guess I should say that. He has the Gundam 00 now. It has 2 GN drives on it, but they're having trouble stabilizing it. So this O-Riser thing stabilizes the drives, helps to destroy Memento Mori, at least the first one. When Setsuna uses the twin drive, like Trans Am, whatever, I don't know, how would you describe this, Isaac? It creates a field around them that allows people in the field to sort of communicate with each other in the classic space nudity style of Gundam, wherever everyone loses their clothes, but they have these sort of incorporeal, non-detailed bodies.
Yeah, I can't stand it. I call it like limbo because, yeah, that's what it is. Like your soul goes there and you're naked and there's glitter and it's limbo. It's like space, but instead of a black background, it's like white.
Yeah, it's like a rave, but in space.
Yeah, people go there too much.
So that Saji and Louise are around. Saji's the pilot of the O-Riser at this point. Louise is on the other team now. She, for some reason, joined the Outlaws.
For some reason, we know why she joined.
Well, I don't believe it. I don't believe that at all. So that was part of one of the things I didn't buy.
I see.
But anyway, she's working for the Outlaws. They see each other in their space nudity, and Louise takes a hard turn. She thinks now that Saji has been with Celestial Being the whole time. She thinks like he played a role in killing her family, blah, blah, blah. So now she's like this evil psycho girl, kind of similar to like Stella from Seed Destiny. I got major Stella vibes from her, as well as, 4 after when she's in the Psycho Gundam.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they were going for here, I would assume.
Yeah, she and the the last Throne pilot, they both have that kind of insane psycho energy that shows up sometimes, where they just get like bloodthirsty at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of like a tired trope at this point in Gundam is the psycho female.
Oh God! Throw in multiple things from this and that too. Throw in the light at the end. That was terrible. Throw in the limbo that you just talked about, nude limbo. And by limbo, I don't mean the game. I mean like the limbo in the sense of like where babies go when they're not baptized.
Nude limbo seems like a fun time.
That's a swingers party.
It's a party game for sure.
Yeah, we'll try it next time, Brian.
We'll live stream that one.
Oh yeah.
You won't want to tune in, listeners. Don't watch that one.
Yeah, we'll play the Gundam the Musical soundtrack.
And then after this, maybe one of the best plot turns in the show that was sort of wasted is a coup movement starts within the Federation against the Outlaws, led by Smirnov's friend, whose name is Hercury. Very funny name. And their plan is to take one of the elevator towers. That was pretty cool.
See, it was really interesting. I'll give you that. And I was kind of on board. But then the more I was thinking about it, I was like, well, this isn't really a coup. Because, like, a literal coup, like, you have to kind of go after whoever's in charge of the government. Like you
Sure.
go to like where the government building is, and you say we're the government. You
Right.
get the current sitting president or whoever, and you're or their cabinet. You take control, then you arrest them, and you say, well, we're now the government. This was the equivalent of like, some rogue elements of the military taking a power plant.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was kind of wasted because
charge.
it turned out to just be poor planning, right?
Right. They really were just kind of doing like a grandstanding situation. Like, we're in charge of this elevator, and here are our demands, and here's our statement, and we don't like the air laws.
Yeah, I mean, basically they bet that the Outlaws wouldn't call their bluff, and immediately the Outlaws do call their bluff, and they they retake the tower. With another memento mori, and the tower falls down, which is great for the show, right? If you're going to make these towers, we knew at the start of the show that one of them was coming down by the end of the show, right? If one of the towers doesn't fall by the end of the show, I would be very upset.
Right, yeah. I mean, like, what I didn't like, though, or at least found interesting, was why do the towers have something called auto-purge, where, like, they begin collapsing automatically?
I wondered that as well. I wondered if it was because they didn't want such one large piece hitting the ground, and they were preferring to have many smaller pieces instead. If there's a 00 super fan out there who knows the reason, let us know. Right. But I did think that was odd. Maybe they just wrote it in to make the scene what they felt was better, because when the tower does fall, Celestial Being, the Outlaws, Catharon, the Federation, they all help to destroy the debris. And by that I mean they all get their mobile suits down there and they shoot down the debris one piece at a time. And the auto purge thing is delivering thousands and thousands of extra pieces for them to shoot down, right?
Dare I say millions, possibly.
Oh, but, probably, yeah.
Yeah, it struck me, I was trying to think of the same thing, like, they want some pieces to dissolve in the atmosphere, if they can, and then some to just kind of float in space. But yeah, it struck me as so odd of a choice to integrate that into the design of the orbital elevators. As someone more knowledgeable in physics than I am, Brian, if you have like 12 items falling to the ground, as opposed to one item, but the 12 items to collectively weigh the same mass, the same weight as the one large item, is there really a difference?
I mean, I guess the energy is proportional. It's a kinetic energy, so it's Ke equals mv, 1/2 mv squared. So 1/2 mass times velocity squared. So I guess you would just have many smaller. So maybe that does work. Actually,
okay.
you'd have the same energy over multiple explosions rather than one big one. But at the same time, those things are all falling in the same general area. It's not like you really disperse them, right? Because they're still basically falling in the shape of the tower, just not in one big piece. Does that make sense? It's not like it shot them all off in different directions, right? They kind of just ejected themselves right below where they were. I also thought about the burning up in the atmosphere, but they're not really coming from space at a really high speed. So I don't think they would burn up.
Okay.
So it has to be that the logic is that they would much prefer smaller kinetic energy explosions than one large one, I guess.
Sure. I know this is my go-to solution for a lot of things, but like I'm serious here. Do you think detonating a nuclear weapon would have vaporized a large chunk of those pieces, or multiple nuclear weapons? Like, not, of course, as they're closer to the ground, but like when you have time. When we know the orbital elevator is going down and they start the auto purge, if you just said, oh, shoot a bunch of nukes at it, like, let's incinerate most of these and then we'll save the cities below.
I mean, you definitely have to use one that doesn't have the fallout problem. But yeah.
Well, that's built in. I don't think that's going to happen.
That seems like a better solution than getting all of your guys down at the bottom and shooting them down one by one. Which, by the way, my comment on this section was I loved that they broke the elevator and it fell down. But I hated the fact that they blew up all the pieces, and I don't feel like it did much damage, really, at the end of the day.
No. I mean, we didn't see a city in ruins. You know, it looks like
that's my point. If you're going to make
it
fall, I want to see disaster. There needs to be consequences.
Yeah, that would have been a good twist, right? Like, it takes out, like, a bunch of countries and cities, and, like, yeah, and then the Outlaws are like, look what the coup did. They were controlled by celestial being, and, you know.
Right. Yeah, and plus, there was so many pieces, it was very unrealistic that they would have shot that many down.
Well, I mean, it did look like they had a lot of mobile suits right at the end. They had Catharon, they had Outlaws, they had the Gundams, then the regular army showed up. I don't know, it looks like tens of thousands of suits.
Oh, I don't think it was that much. No way.
Thousands?
I would say
Hundreds?
several hundred.
Wow. Okay, several hundred, there's no way they could have done it.
I'm sure there's a number out there. Let us know. I just there was so many, and we have this problem at the end with those Gaga legless mobile dolls.
The Lady Gaga.
There's way too many of those too, but yeah, the Lady Gagas. Anyway, the tower falls. They sort of save everyone below, but Andre, Smirnov's son, he kills Hercury and Smirnov actually, so he commits patricide. That was awkward.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Ended the best character in the show, Smirnov.
Oh, Smirnov made me wish there was a Gundam series focused on like an older grizzled pilot. Like, he's our main character for 50 episodes. You know.
Yeah. That'd be
maybe
cool.
He's been through it and he just kind of shakes his head, you know. The enemy's a young guy or something, or maybe someone old also. But yeah, that's pretty much his. There's like, oh God, really? All these young people are a bunch of hoo-ha fascists. Oh God.
Isaac's gonna pitch that show to Sunrise, and they're gonna throw him out immediately. They're gonna be like, "This guy doesn't sell model kits."
They refuse to take our calls here at Sunset.
So after the tower is down, 4 months later, Celestial Being, they then go back and they take out Memento Mori that took down the tower. Setsuna he's starting to have cell degeneration in his shoulder, similar to Lasse. Anu is shockingly revealed to be an innovator. She betrays Celestial Being. One of the other innovators, Regetta, gives Wang Lume coordinates of Veda, who then Wang Lume then gives them to Setsuna. Setsuna is forced to kill Anu because she betrayed Celestial Being after Ribbon's Wi-Fi'd into her brain and took control of her, as Isaac said. She got the Anakin eyes. At this point, unfortunately for Lyle, he was in love with Anu. Very odd romance, Isaac. I don't think we needed that.
Yeah. It was so brief too, and like he was acting like he lost like his one true love.
Oh yeah, I have more to say about that when we get to the characters, but
okay.
Yeah, not a fan of Lyle, I'll say that. And then we start to realize that Setsuna is starting to become an innovator, I guess just because. I feel like the show just kind of told us that he was going to become an innovator and didn't really say why.
Yeah. This kind of lost me because, to my knowledge, up until this point, you're kind of like hatched as an innovator, right? You're like an artificial being. You're very coordinator. In this case, though, like it looks like they kind of changed the definition to they new typed it, where like, oh, look, his actions are trying to better humanity's future. That makes you an innovator. I was like, well, no.
Yeah, I agree. Nena, the other crazy girl that you mentioned, she finds Wong Lume and Hong Long, and then she kills Hong Long. Regine shoots Ribbons in the head. Regine didn't really like Ribbons the whole time, and eventually she got enough courage up to shoot him. But it turns out like that Ribbons was a clone, because of course, Isaac, we haven't really talked about clones in this show, but why not? So
right.
he had one, and then he comes from behind and kills her. Celestial Being, Catharon, and the Ku faction, they're on their way to attack Veda in a colony-class deep space mothership called Celestial Being. It's an asteroid ship, so they use those coordinates, and everyone's like, all right, let's just go get him. So this is going to be the end game of the show now. Everyone found out where Ribbons is basically hiding. He's in Celestial Being, the ship. So all of our factions are just on their way to go attack him.
Yeah.
At this point, the world is kind of turned against the Outlaws for the most part. We find out that Aeolia predicted contact with a still unknown race 2 centuries ago, and the ship, known as Celestial Being, will be the last hope of mankind. If those aliens don't like us, they will essentially save us from extinction as a, quote, new Noah's Ark. This new Noah's Ark, Isaac, though, it's a little bit different than the old Noah's Ark that I read about as a kid. Noah's Ark, to my knowledge, did not have an 80-meter GN laser on it. Ribbons fires this new super weapon that's this giant cannon. It uses up 1 GN Tau drive per shot, and then it like rotates out kind of like a revolver, which is pretty neat. I like that visual.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Celestial Being, and when they get there, Celestial Being sends out the Gagas, which are these mass-produced legless mobile dolls of the Innovators, and they send out thousands of them, Isaac. Way too many. There's not the amount of suits that were coming out of Celestial Being cannot fit in Celestial Being.
I like how Ribbons had like all the suicide pilots like get together in his little living room area.
Yes.
For like a group picture before everybody attacked.
We just want to remember this day, everyone. Take a selfie.
Like, everyone is going to die in this kamikaze attack, but I want everyone to see my cool couch of power before the battle.
He ended up having like clones of, it was 2 of them, right? Was it Bring and another one? I don't remember which ones. I think I wrote it down somewhere, but yeah, I have more to say about them, but...
Oh god, these names, these Innovator names. Oh my god. They put Xeon capital ship names to shame.
Yeah.
My name's Regina Regina.
Regina Regina.
My name's Anu Kachu.
Yeah, the Innovade names like ironically / fittingly sound like ChatGPT names. Revive, Revival, Regina Vegeta, Bring Stabity, Divine Nova, Hilling Care, and a new Returner. And obviously Ribbons Allmark. What was your favorite one of those?
Oh god.
What was the most egregious?
So, okay, I'll answer 2 things. I feel like Ribbons, like even those names Ribbons and Allmark, that's kind of the strongest name. So like that's the most successful of the names, I feel like.
Yeah. Sure.
But Regina, that one's the worst, I think.
That one sounds like a Bond woman.
Yeah, it's also, I don't know, there's something about it where it's just...
But if she was in a Bond movie, she'd call herself Regina.
Right? Like Regina Tightly or something.
I think the most egregious one was Bring Stabity. Something about the name Stabity is
Stabity.
just hilarious to me.
That sounds like orcs, like, in a fantasy series, an orc telling another orc to, like, bring him his sword or something. Bring Stabity!
His magic dagger named Stabity. So they send out the Gagas, and these things are just kamikazing into everything. They're kamikazing
useless.
Into the Ptolemy, who has its shield up. They're kamikazing into Setsuna, who's in the 00. Everyone is getting kamikazed, and there's a lot of Mook syndrome going on here, which we'll talk about later.
Why do they do this, Brian? Why not send out missiles? Why send out pilots? Like, for the love of God, it makes no sense.
You spent all that time, yeah. One nuke would have solved the whole issue.
Yeah.
Thierry reveals that the Innovators are actually Innovades, artificial creations to bring on the birth of a true Innovator. But Ribbons thinks he is an Innovade that has evolved himself into a true Innovator.
Oh my god.
So that was a big thing. And then at this point, everybody kind of resolves their respective conflicts, except Allelujah, because Allelujah's story, which we'll talk about in a little bit here, that ended like 10 episodes ago. So him and Soma / Marie, whatever you want to call her, they just kind of like guard the base and cry about it. Everyone else, though, they take some progression here. Thierry goes into Celestial Being to get Veda back. He gets killed by Ribbons, who shoots him in the head. But then he merges with Veda and takes it away from Ribbons later in the battle, which is kind of neat. Setsuna pulls Louise out of the Regnant mobile armor, which Setsuna was fighting and Louise was piloting. But when he pulls her out, and Saji finds her. She chokes Saji, but then like snaps out of it, I guess because she loves him. So the power of love wins again, Isaac. Setsuna then uses Trans Am Burst to turn everything rainbow again. Regene then reveals that when a purebred Innovator's quantum brainwaves work with the twin drive, it expands people's consciousness. And then all the clones get headaches and they blow up. Lyle kills Ali, who was completely wasted in this season. I'll say that. Tieria reveals celestial beings' true purpose to unite humanity's will, to prevent bringing war with them into outer space for meeting new species. And then we get Ribbons, his motivation, Isaac. Pretty actually stereotypical villain motivation. He wants to rule the world with no real input from anyone else. A little flimsy, 50 episodes in, if you ask me.
Yeah, really no different than, what was his name?
Alejandro, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Then he battles Setsuna in the Reborn's Gundam. They both lose a reactor, so they switch back into the Exia and the O Gundam, and they both stab each other, blow each other up. In the epilogue, Azaddistan is reconstructed, Mannequin marries Cauliflower, Lyle buries Anu next to his family, Tieria watches over humanity with Veda, and Setsuna does the same with Celestial Being. And that's the show.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot happened. So I do, calling back to your point about the plot, about enjoying it more, I do think overall, I'll give you this, 00 fans, 00's plot is structured and paced and executed much better than Wing or Seed in terms of logic.
Yeah, I think I'll go with you there. Maybe a tie with Wing. Seed? I think Seed had kind of a better show in general.
Well, okay, Seed, original Seed. What about Destiny, though?
No, Destiny was bad.
Yeah, I'm taking the thing as a whole.
Oh, I have to cut them off because Seed is about as long as season 1 and 2 of 00.
That's true.
This almost feels like one show, really.
Yeah, I would say it's one show. Yeah, for sure. So, anything you want to discuss now, Isaac? It's open season.
Getting back to your last comment, yeah, I feel like season 2 more enjoyable than season 1 overall. Whether that's the pacing or the plot or how it was much more coherent with just the Federation on one side with the Outlaws and then Celestial Being on the other. Kind of Catherine, kind of not. Yeah, overall, I had a much better experience watching it. Definitely not in the top, 10 of my favorite Gundam shows. But, yeah, overall, definitely much more enjoyable. But I took notes as I was watching the series, so I'll just go down them if you'd like. Or did you also have notes?
I do. Okay. I have a lot of notes. I have notes from the show, and then I also have notes on all the characters.
Oh, wow. My notes are just from the show during the watch. I didn't dare delve into the series afterwards. But let's start right off the bat. Do we ever see what happened to Saji's coworker who got arrested in the opening and who's essentially responsible for Saji also being sent to that labor camp in an asteroid? I don't think we ever did. I thought, this guy would be the guy that leads him to Catherine, but it was just kind of a one-off. Hey, we suspect you of a crime. You're under arrest.
I thought he also got arrested, and I thought he died. I thought he got shot by the automatons.
I wouldn't be surprised. It looked like almost everybody died at that prison.
But speaking of the automatons, real quick, and Saji, did you think it was ironic that Saji gets taken to do manual labor in a world where they can build space elevators, but apparently they can't build ramps and escalators?
Yeah.
To accomplish the manual labor that they are forcing this guy who clearly should not be doing manual labor to do?
That was my next comment. It said, why physical labor in space in an asteroid? Well, number one, I don't get why they had so much difficulty with the gravity in an asteroid. If anything, it should be the opposite, right?
Yeah, disable the gravity things.
Yeah, but I thought the prison guard suits were cool because they had it might be the only time in Gundam we see infantry with power armor, so that was kind of cool. My next comment is that Lock-On's brother looks identical to him, and that's ridiculous. They did something that happens a lot in fiction where it turns out someone has a brother and they decide to really fill in their place because they're an identical twin, and all they really need is a conversation to convince them to essentially become the same character.
I agree. Look, I'm just gonna talk about Lyle now.
Oh boy, here we go.
I agree wholeheartedly. I really do not like Lyle's character. His character doesn't even make sense from the beginning because, as we discussed, Setsuna was like, you want to do it? You want to get in a Gundam? How about it? And he's like, all right, cool. There was no background check. They don't just hand out Gundams to these people. He's never even piloted a mobile suit before. The Meisters are supposed to be peak performing pilots, right?
Yeah, I like how Tieria was kind of the only one that kind of grilled him on it. It's like, do you have any mobile suit experience? And he's like, no, I used a loader, once. And then Tieria's like, why'd you bring us a novice?
Exactly. And to your point, I'm supposed to care about him only because of Neil, or who I'm going to call as Lock-On. his relationship later with Anu was so sudden and ill-advised. He knowingly put the team in danger, and that makes me dislike him. There was the point, because if you remember, there was the point where he looked at her and he realized that she was an innovator, and he chose not to tell the team, and that really blew up in their face. And he then went on to resolve Setsuna's story via Neil's development. And by that, I mean he resolved Setsuna's family backstory by he was the one who ended up killing Ali instead of Setsuna. If I watch the show, I want to see Setsuna kill Ali. I don't want Lyle to do it.
Right. Yeah, that was a mistake, I felt like, because he had no connection to him. It should have been Setsuna. I had a Mandela effect because my brain could have sworn Setsuna is the one that kills Ali, but that's not what happened.
Exactly. They sidelined Ali the whole second season. And why even use Lyle Delandi? You could have just used a different character. I associated Ali Al-Sanchez with Setsuna and maybe Neil, but primarily Setsuna.
Yeah.
And Neil was just a much better character. I feel like this switching the character thing only works if the new person is better than the old person. Otherwise, I just miss the old person. And in this case, give me Neil back, or don't sully his memory and his sacrifice. It's actually worse than bringing back Mu LaFlaga and Seed. Because at least Mu LaFlaga was the same person. You didn't bring another guy and call him like Mo LaFlaga. But he like looks and acts the same.
It's his brother.
And also, Lyle's kind of dumb, right? Like, I don't like him for the Anu thing. He's supposed to be like a pretty sharp dude since he's in Catharon, and he's like a pretty high-ranking person in Catharon. Knowingly ignoring that she was a innovator is a really dumb move. When characters ignore things like that, that works depending on what type of character you are. Like, that worked in Mobile Suit Gundam when Kai fell in love with that Zeon spy, because I believe that Kai would make a naive decision about a spy, because he was a young kid. He didn't like being in the war where he was anyway, and so he found this girl that he liked, and he jumped at it. But this dude is supposed to be a grown-ass man who works for an underground spy agency. That just, it seems so illogical to me.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and I do kind of regret them not just using Neil, because then they could have just said, oh, he survived the explosion, and then I don't know, those
bring him back with
parts?
That cyborg technology.
Yeah,
exactly.
Those cyborg parts, we slapped him in, and now he's like an even better sniper. Now he connects to his machine, something like that. But yeah, ridiculous to bring him back. I'm not sure if you've seen the movie Beerfest, but
I have not, but I am shocked that somehow Beerfest relates to whatever it is you're talking about.
The Beerfest Gundam connection. There's a character who's called Landfill. Because he's very good at chugging beer and stuff.
Sure.
And he dies in like a beer drowning accident. And then like the group of friends, like they find his brother to join them in like a beer contest. And he says, you know what, don't call me, whatever his name was, like Horace anymore. Call me Landfill. And then the guys are like, hey, it's like he never left. And that is exactly what they did here.
I love that. That's very meta.
So they were very aware of what they were doing. But yeah, my next comment is that Smirnoff had a random son, which they absolutely should have hinted at in season 1. That would have been great and paid off. But here it was like, well, we're making characters, and a lot of them are related to other people, so why don't we just give Smirnoff a son?
Yeah, I did not like that at all. I completely agree. And like, what I don't really understand is, did they just not know what to do with Smirnoff, and they needed someone to kill him, so that's why they made the son, to make it like a tragedy? Like, this is what doesn't work for me with the show. Like, I don't understand why this character exists, other than to make a tragic situation later, which I don't care about, because the whole situation is like contrived. His whole thing was he hates Smirnoff because he blames him for his mother's death, but the circumstances around his mother's death was like a very military thing, right? Like, he couldn't order basically everyone to die to go save his wife. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, pretty much.
So what does he do? He joins the military. If he really hates his dad, for that reason, I feel like that person would never join the military.
No, he would like be the anti-war movement or something, right?
Exactly. He would be in Catharon. He wouldn't be in the Outlaws.
Yeah, very odd.
So because he's mad at his dad because he followed a military decision. So he then joins the military and follows the military to a T. He follows the Outlaws. Like, not even the normal military, like the egregious Titans type military. I don't understand.
The only thing I can see with that is like he wanted to be above his father, and the Outlaws are above the regular military. So he's not in his chain of command. He never will be, and that's his way to follow in his mom's footsteps, but also be like above and beyond his father.
Yeah, but I feel like that whole plot was tacked on, and I wish we would have seen him
definitely
die, having a more, I don't know, direct impact on the coup.
Right. Yeah. What's next?
Oh, actually, hold on. Can we go back to the automatons real quick?
Oh, sure. I love them.
One more thing on the automatons, Isaac. These things are like mean Tachikoma murder drones.
Yeah, like a rectangular cube Tachikoma.
Yeah, like who would win? These automatons, the bugs from F91, or the murder horrors from Witch?
Wow. Okay, not the murder horrors because like their guns look pretty rigid. Like they
Yeah.
can only shoot down a hallway, really. Um, let's see, or the bugs. You know what? I'll give it to the bugs.
They can fly, so I was going to give it to the bugs too.
Yeah, not only that, but if you remember, the bugs have a laser.
Yeah.
They can use that in certain situations. And yeah, when you're fighting a bug, you have to stay on your toes because you're either going to fight big bug or little bug that comes out of big bug.
That's true.
Yeah, the bugs would win. The bugs would take him out pretty quickly.
All right, glad we're on the same page on that.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Bushido. He's so annoying. He's like so cringy, I feel like. He's
Man.
wearing a mask in the Alon's cafeteria. I thought that was very notable. Like nobody ever calls him on it either,
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Look, this is another pet peeve of the show for me. For Graham, I do not understand his self-imposed disgrace in season 2, especially to the level of extreme that he's taking it to, right?
Yeah.
It felt so unnecessary. He should actually be proud. He was the best person not named Aliel Sanchez in season 1 that performed well against Setsuna, and maybe not named Alejandro either. Given the equipment that he had, like he did wonderful in the souped up flag. Why is he so down on himself that he didn't win?
It's bizarre that they chose like a character not from Japan to do this whole kind of Bushido samurai honor thing. Like it feels
is
kind of, I don't know what the term, weeby? Some American, got really into samurai, and he's in the military, and he feels like he's been dishonored.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre, as opposed to if they had like a Japanese character do it, where I'd kind of be all on board with it. But it's very, I hesitate to use this word because some people might roll their eyes, but this is literally it. It's like cultural appropriation,
Kind of is, but it's weird because
Yeah.
it's their culture that they're having someone appropriate. Maybe
guess.
obviously they don't care, but I mean it's kind of like one of those videos, right, where they like the white guy goes and dresses up in like a sombrero and he asks the Mexican guy if it's okay, and they're like, it's great, I love it. So whether people care about it or not, I don't know, but you're right, it is awkward. I think it's unnecessary, really. Like it feels unnecessary to me because they didn't explain it. I think what maybe they should have done was, for example, the head of the Outlaws, right? Like he commits seppuku at the end.
Yeah, that was ridiculous too.
So maybe he should have been into samurais, and he should have been really close with Graham, and maybe Graham could have got the samurai connection from that or something. But like they never made that connection.
Yeah.
Or like he was so mad that he lost because he made that promise to the one dude on his team that he wouldn't lose or whatever, or that he would destroy the Gundam with the flag. But like the rest of his team died too. So like why is he just so broken up about just this one dude? They should have made it someone that he's in love with or something to make the promise mean more or give it more weight. Because right now a promise to like one team member seems a bit light to me to then base the rest of your entire arc on, especially when you, to your point, transform into this extreme vengeful samurai guy out of nowhere.
Was the head of the Outlaws even Japanese?
I think he was, or at least
Okay.
I thought it was implied that he was supposed to be.
It was hard to tell, but
I mean, he's Katagiri's brother, right, or whatever.
okay.
And Katagiri is a Japanese
his
name,
uncle.
so I assume.
Yeah, it was his
Your
uncle.
uncle, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so he is Japanese by ethnicity. Yeah. Didn't he? He kind of did seppuku half wrong, though, right? Like, I thought the seppuku process is you don't just cut open your stomach. You need like someone with a katana next to you, like usually a friend or someone that you trust to cut off your head.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Which is a shame because, like, I liked Graham, relative to the people in season one. Graham was kind of one of the people that I liked more than the rest, and I just don't understand him in season 2.
Yeah,
he's unrecognizable.
He had like a nervous breakdown or something, and everyone just kind of nodded their heads and were like, "Yeah, he's going through something." And nobody say anything about his clothes or his mask. We're going to support his psychological situation until he works it out himself.
Right. I wrote down as we went on those what were they called? The Masaraos or the Masaros? His suits. They looked, I wrote, honest and cool for his character in the thing, but it sort of just clashes with everything in the universe. Like if you showed me that from a different show, I'd be like, all right, that's kind of cool. But in this show, it makes zero sense to me, and I feel like the rest of the people around him, to your point, they look at him, they should be like, hey, did someone like go tell him that you have, like, as part of the Outlaws, you get mental health insurance and you can like go get some assistance with whatever it is you're going through?
The first one looked great. It was like, it was just samurai enough without being too much. And it looked very much like a, you know, they kind of upgraded a flag or something, or an advance. But yeah, I really liked that one. As they went on, they got a little too wacky, I thought. But
I also think they look better in the show than they do if you just look at the art.
Oh.
They look a little better in motion. Kind of how like the Freedom Gundam, I think, looks a little better in motion.
Mr. Bushido is probably a case of like there was character art done, and then someone high up says, you have to put that in the show. And then they were like, well, we originally made this as like the Char character who's going to be the main villain. And then they're like, no, that's Ali. And I'm like, well, do something with this armor and outlook, because we're going to do something with it, you know.
It's funny you mentioned them in the same sentence, Isaac, because the one fight that I wanted to see throughout this show, and we never got, was Graham versus Ali.
Ah, interesting. That would never happen, though, because they're on the same side, really.
Kind of. But I mean, I would say that if Graham knew more about Ali, he would not appreciate his moral fiber.
Right. Yeah, almost everybody would want to fight Ali if they knew about him. Except for maybe some of the outlaws. They would, like, bad outlaws, they would want him on their side.
Sure. Yeah, they would hire him. But I would say out of the show, those are the two most talented natural pilots.
Yeah, definitely. Kurosawa didn't do much this season, I feel.
Oh, man, he made it home with the lady, though.
Yeah, that was a funny surprise at the end. I like that. Okay, let's see. Oh, yes. Eon, he said something I thought though was ridiculous. He said, whether we fight or not, people are going to die. And then I was like, well, why fight then? At that point, I knew, oh, this show was going to Gundam Wing itself in terms of talking about war and peace and all that. Kujo, I thought it was interesting. We see, like, one of our rare instances of a Gundam alcoholic, because, man, she was pounding down the booze.
Oh, she was a disaster, Isaac. Someone needs to get her some help.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
And Allelujah was such an enabler.
Yeah, right?
There's actually, so I looked this up. This is very random. I might edit this out. There's an audio drama where it's implied that they hook up on the Ptolemy.
Did she hook up with Allelujah or Hallelujah?
Maybe she would prefer Hallelujah, but
it switches in the middle.
There you go. Depends on your mood, you know.
That's what she likes, huh, Brian? When it goes nuts.
Give me
when he goes insane. That's when the roller coaster starts.
Oh man, with that pun, I gotta leave it in now. No, that's what he said.
All right.
Yeah, but I thought that was kind of strange because I didn't really get that feeling from the show. But
yeah. Something stupid they also say at the beginning of the show is like, oh, the world, or I think Kujo says this, oh, the world didn't change. Nothing changed. What are you talking about? The world absolutely changed. It's like one world government now, and it's under like the ruthless oppression of the military.
Yeah.
So a lot has changed. Maybe you haven't noticed behind the bottle, but yeah. And then something stupid Lock-On says is, do I really look like my brother? Well, you're twin brothers, so let me think about it. The opening had like the same, not the opening, no, the episode with Lock-On. It had what you hated in the first season where, you know, some pilots were like, hey, did I hit him? Huh?
Oh,
did he hit
me?
I took out my sword. Huh? Did he take out his sword?
We all saw him take out his sword, damn it. Yeah. Just stop talking about it.
And then someone was complaining that, like, oh, it's so evil of the Federation to only give their solar energy to their member nations. Is it?
I would say that's pretty realistic, probably.
Yeah, it's their energy, you know?
Yeah.
Catherine, you guys just want everybody to just share everything, don't you? Well, that's not how things work in the real world. Oh, yeah. So the twin drive, I take it, was made by Ian, right?
It was obviously made by him, but I think it was given to them by Aeol. You know, the plans were given to them by
okay.
Aeolia.
I was wondering about that because Ribbons did not know about the twin drive, and Regina was kind of rubbing it in his face, like she was saying, like, "Oh, did you not know about that? You look so surprised," and stuff.
That was what I thought was interesting. The show was careful to not give Ribbons the information that he had to not have for them to have the plot, right? Because, like, what is the reason why Ribbons doesn't know about the twin drive? I can't tell you.
Yeah, right. Like, he has Veda, but Veda isn't giving him everything. Is that what we're to understand?
That's kind of what I took from it, yeah.
I see. All right.
And so on the twin drive, tell me what you think here, but they never explained or at least what I took from the show, was that when they hooked up the twin drives, I was like, all right, it's going to be, exponentially more powerful. I'm on board with that. But then they were like, it's hard to synchronize the drives or whatever. We need this thing called the O-riser. But all they said was that the O-riser solves it. They didn't say why the O-riser solves it. And so I looked this up because I was like, I don't remember an explanation. I can't figure this out. So I looked it up. And there's actually even conflicting info on this because from the wiki, it says, with 00 unable to stabilize its twin drive, Celestial Being engineers turned to the O-riser. According to one source, the O-riser was installed with a GN drive control system to ensure a stable supply of particles to the 00's two GN drives when it's docked, and this system was found to be able to stabilize the twin drives. Another source claimed that the support machine's high-performance particle control system was diverted to stabilize the twin drives. It's currently unclear if these two systems are one and the same, different parts of a bigger system, or completely different systems. Regardless, O-riser was able to help control and stabilize the twin drive system.
Oh, what a mess.
And those sources, you know where these sources are? The sources are not from the show. They are from the O-riser Perfect Grade Model Manual and Mobile Suit Bible 32. So my point is that a lot of the plot revolves around the twin drive. I feel like we should thoroughly explain the twin drive system in the show, not in a model manual or a Bible book. To me, those books are for things that are nice to knows and really cool if you're into the lore. But this, to me, seems like a main plot point that was glossed over, especially for as many episodes that we had about the damn thing. They had plenty of time to do it.
Yeah, maybe they did. I was wondering, is the output just double because they have twice as many engines? No,
remember
faster?
They said, there's two of them, so it's exponentially powerful and more powerful instead of just linearly more powerful.
Oh, it's exponentially. Yeah. Of course, because of the
they drew a graph and everything.
Oh god, and they synced. They synced.
Yes.
Ridiculous. Okay. Innovator costumes still terrible. I don't know how this design got approved, but I can't stand them.
Oh, the Celestial Being costumes?
Yeah.
They went full Captain Planet uniforms. Right, like everyone had a different color. I thought that was a downgrade to season 1.
No, not Celestial Being. I meant the Innovator uniforms, the little eclair pastry, little coffee filter things that they have to wear.
The eclair uniforms.
The little doily that people put eclairs on.
Well, what did you think about the Celestial Being ones?
I mean, they're okay, I guess. They're just, they're Power Ranger-y.
Yeah, I was going to say Power Ranger-y. I thought that was a step down from season 1.
Yeah, a bit, but at this point I was like, whatever. Everybody get their favorite color.
And they totally nerfed Sumeragi's assets. They hit him under the costume. There was zero of that in season 2. I don't know if they got bad feedback from it or what, but it was a remarkable about face on that.
The artificial gravity on the new ship can't take it.
Just had to turn it up. Had to cover him up.
Allelujah. When we first see him, he's in prison. He's in Allah prison. And they gag him like Hannibal Lecter, which I have no idea why they did that. Was he biting people when he switches to his other personality? Is that what we're to understand?
That's a great point. And I kind of wrote down the same thing. And I have 2 thoughts on that. One is, I guess I have 3 thoughts. If you take into context his backstory that we see later about how he developed that split personality where he got stranded in space with the other survivors from the place.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to assume
oh my god,
that he ate the other super kids while adrift?
Well, they did run out of food and water.
That's my point. But he didn't run out of food and water.
No, he made it.
Did Allelujah eat the other children?
So even though he's locked up in prison and presumably being force-fed food, he still craves the taste of human flesh.
Well, maybe they found out that he did that, and they were like, "Oh, we gotta put a muzzle on this guy."
Yeah, the warden isn't gonna take any chances. Put a muzzle on it.
But also, to your point, if he's been locked up like that for 4 years, there is not a chance that this dude takes off the mask and he resumes normal life like he did.
But Brian, you forget that he's a super soldier. He's a super soldier, trained and skilled.
I still do not even understand what quantum brainwaves do.
Oh boy!
Other than they help Setsuna of all people activate the thing at the end. I felt like we were supposed to assume that quantum brainwaves were special to these special people. And then I feel like towards the end, it kind of implies that everyone has these things.
Yeah. Well.
Also, when we see Allelujah, he gives us the speech about Soma being Marie. And then he tells us that she was the only one to ever hear his quantum brainwaves that he could communicate that way to. So how did he not realize that the person messing with his brainwaves was her sooner? He even says she's the only one. That doesn't make sense to me. When it happened before, why wasn't he like, oh, maybe it must be Marie?
I don't know. Oh God, what a mess.
That tells me that they decided that later.
Probably. I imagine they'll decide a lot of stuff in this show later, or as they were going along, it feels like.
Yeah, probably.
My next comment is about someone that's I thought was going to play a bigger role, and that's General Goodman, General Arthur Goodman.
Yeah.
You know, Blondie McCuskey. What did you think about him compared to like the past blonde villains we've had in series who've been way more influential to the plot?
I didn't think much about him.
No.
I thought they were poised to give him a bigger role towards the end there, but then he kind of just got vaporized at the end, right? Someone killed him.
Right. He's notable for being the only overweight A-Law that we see.
They have strict physical requirements.
Yeah. We got ocean-going mobile armors, our obligatory ocean-going mobile armor or aquatic mobile suit battle, and in a stunning twist, the ocean-going enemy does poorly, Brian. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? What did they call them? The troglodytes, the triplodites, the whatever they were?
Oh, I think I wrote it down.
The triplodomes.
Well, maybe I didn't.
Cephalodomes, whatever they were. Tardigrades.
I actually didn't write that one down. I know what you're talking about, though. The tardigrades. We should have a tardigrade mobile armor.
That'd be cool, yeah. All right. So, Katagiri, this whole season, it's essentially about him trying to get back at Cujo. Right? Like, this man's heart is broken.
Yeah, so when Setsuna shows up, first of all, okay, this goes back to Cujo being a bit of a wreck here, right? So she's, in those 5 years, she's been staying with this dude, although it does seem like he loves her. And she's clearly just using him for rent, essentially.
They're using each other, it seems.
Yes. And I think all that's fine, because he was clearly broken when Setsuna showed up and said, "Oh, that's Celestial Being's operator," and he's like,
"You've been hammering a traitor there, buddy."
Yeah,
literally sleeping with the enemy.
But then at the end, I don't understand it. Like, his whole thing culminates, and he's like, "It makes sense to be ruled by the Innovators because they're helping us go to YouTube." That makes zero sense based on he should hate the Innovators, Isaac, because they killed Dr. Eichmann, his mentor, the guy that he looked up to.
And they've been like routinely shaming his uncle. Well, not really directly, but like his uncle's just a pawn for them. So yeah, he shows up in Ribbons Allmark's like little living room, and out of nowhere. That was an interesting twist, I thought.
Yeah, I see. It's a twist, but I just don't think it makes any sense. I don't buy it.
No, somehow he got noticed. This one out of what must be hundreds of thousands on Earth of mobile suit designers got noticed by Ribbons Allmark, and he got the gold star. So I noticed the show had easy color coding. We had red suits for the Outlaws and blue for Catharon. But in space, both of them kind of used bluish capital ships. So that was interesting.
By the way, where did the Catharon space fleet come from?
Oh, I put that down further in my notes too. Like, what the Outlaws do with Memento Mori, Catharon is able to do with fleets. Because, they're so ramshackle, they really only have like underground hidden bases. But for whatever reason, they're able to throw together a fleet at the drop of a hat the moment they need to like go into space to back up the Gundams.
Yeah, I don't know who their supplier is or how they're funding this operation, but I feel like we're supposed to believe that they're very under the radar and ramshackle, but then also they have like a huge space fleet. So I feel like you got to pick a lane.
Not only like are they able to just field a fleet after they get destroyed, but they do it in numbers that are almost close to the Outlaws fleet, or at least enough that they always come out on top or at least fight them, Yeah,
they felt like maybe outmatched, but it wasn't like 3 on 50, right? It was, 27 on 45 or something. Yeah. So it was more even than I think it should have been.
It kind of makes it canon that Catharon had people backing it with deep pockets. And there were a lot of people unhappy about how the Federation was doing things, and they made sure Catharon had the material they needed.
I liked Catharon. I wish we had more Catharon in the show.
It was very Kuraba.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of complaints about them. They just kind of felt like a obligatory weak resistance put in there, the Rebel Alliance.
See, here's my alternate version of the show, Isaac.
Oh, boy.
There's a version of this show where Smirnov doesn't die.
Wow.
And instead, he teams up with Louise.
Okay.
And she does not go to the Outlaws. And instead, she takes over the investigation that Saji's sister was doing. And they work together, and they work with Catharon on the and then Smirnov becomes head of the coup in the background. And then those two are better served towards the end of the show, instead of one dude being killed by his son who no one likes.
Yeah.
And Louise going through the normal Psycho Gundam girl trope.
Yeah, that already makes for a better show. I thought you were going to say Smirnoff joins the resistance and becomes their leader.
I mean, he could lead them, or he could at least be. I think he doesn't have to lead them, but I think he should utilize them as a pawn in the coup movement.
Right.
Because Smirnoff was billed to us as the moral compass of the on the bad guy's side. Like he's clearly an okay person.
Yeah.
And he's very smart, so I feel like he should be the one to ascend to that position. He doesn't have to necessarily take control of Catharon, but he should use them to meet the goal that he would like to see realized, I guess.
Yeah, so that's another thing about the show. Smirnoff was really the only angle we see from the regular army of the Federation, because we don't really see much of it throughout the show, or even spend much time with its leaders. Like that one guy who was the president, he's only in like a few seconds of the show. He makes a couple speeches, and then he's clearly replaced or resigns. But yeah, what'd you think of automatons?
I liked them. I thought they were cool.
Yeah.
I think my opinion of the automaton type things in Gundam is I always feel like mobile suits should be the most deadly enemy in a Gundam show.
Yeah.
And I feel like, why do you need mobile suits if you have automatons?
Well, they were definitely deadly against infantry, but they looked almost harmless against a mobile suit.
Yeah, but mobile suits have pilots, so just go kill all the pilots like when they're sleeping. Like send the automatons into the base and they're not. There's no one's going to get in the mobile suit. So
I thought we were eventually going to see mobile suit-sized automatons. I thought they're going to be their kind of another nod to Wing.
Oh yeah, and mobile dolls. Yeah.
We never really got there. They just kind of stopped designing automatons once they had one design and it seemed to work, so they didn't really do anything else with it.
Yeah.
There's this great line that Ali says to Setsuna when Setsuna and the princess are flying into Azatastan and it's on fire. I think Setsuna says, "I recognize that mobile suit. Is that Ali?" And then Ali turns around and says, "You guessed right, punk."
Yeah, but that was so odd. How did he know it was Setsuna?
Because you forget, Brian, in Gundam, whenever you're communicating over like some type of mobile to mobile suit communication system or over a radio, everybody can talk to everybody.
Yeah, but then that was a weird episode because it cut right after, and then it didn't tell you how they like even got out of that situation for a while, right?
I don't even remember. It was a blur.
Yeah.
So this is early days of the Federation, and what do we see, Brian? We see the silver hair outlaws officer slap Smirnoff. So we get our first canon Federation slap in Federation history. There you go.
Gotta have a good slap here and there.
Yeah.
Someone should make a Gundam slap compilation. I want to see all the slaps.
It might be us, Brian. It might be up to us.
It might be. That's a big project.
Yeah, wow. Another bad scene that like overly does Bushido as Mr. Samurai is when he doesn't kill Setsuna because Setsuna had like mechanical problems with his suit. God, that's
just him being an honorable warrior, Isaac.
He should be court-martialed.
His side basically lost because he didn't kill him, so.
Well, something Regina said that was weird was that innovators are immortal and vital to the plan. But they never really say how they're vital to the plan or why. It's hard for us to know exactly what Aeolia's plan is because we never know it. We're just kind of running off everybody thinking they know what the plan is.
Well, that's true. He never tells us himself, so that's a good point. No. We never get a first-person source on that. I think at some point, I think it was Tieria. He tells Ribbons that their purpose is to help humans become innovators, basically.
God, what does that even mean?
Not to rule over them. You're supposed to guide them, is what he says. And Ribbons obviously wants to rule over them. So that's their purpose, and I guess why he says they're immortal, because they're artificial. But in terms of Aeolia's plan, at the end, they say it's to prepare for the dialogues to come, Isaac, obviously.
Of course.
He thinks we're going to meet a new species, which we'll get into that, but...
Sure, we need immortal lords to oversee humanity, and so that they don't, drop the ball with the plan. Okay.
Yeah, but the last two episodes, they reveal that the Innovades are not innovators, and that somehow people are supposed to become innovators, but they don't tell us how you're supposed to do it. So, the closest thing I can think of, Isaac, is in Stargate when the people ascend. But in that, they tell us how to ascend, and they show us the ascension. Here, I feel like it's ascension, but without the form change, but also with no explanation, other than you get the googly eyes.
Yeah.
If someone asked you, how did Setsuna become an innovator, what would you say?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. He made a few choices. He put humanity first. I don't know.
Right, he said, I'm going to change, and then he did. But like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's very somebody revealed to be a new type.
Yeah, but I feel like at least the people that are new types, they show progress towards that throughout the show, whether it's through understanding or through trauma. Yeah. And yeah, Setsuna had trauma in his past.
A lot, yeah.
But he doesn't say much in the show. And actually, we should just talk about Setsuna, because I think that's the answer to your question. I feel like he's a bit bland. I feel like they spent more time on every other character that wasn't Setsuna. And he went through all the main character motions, but most of the time I felt things were happening to him rather than because of him. And I feel like he just has that main character syndrome of advancing to advance. Like, we're supposed to believe that he's capable of being the first natural-born innovator because of losing his family and not wanting to fight.
Uh-huh.
Is that why? Like, we should have had more flashbacks where we met the people behind that loss, maybe. Like, we didn't really meet his family.
It feels like we got almost everything out of him that we needed to in season 1. You know, that was really his character reveal season. This season, he was just Gundam pilot. Gundam main pilot.
Yeah, and I felt like people were telling us Setsuna is going to be this person, and then he just kind of, his eyes changed. And I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but I if that's your main character, I need to be sold more on that if he's going to be our main guy.
Yeah, but I guess not, Brian. What did you think about Tiara's cross-dressing skills?
I mean, that's just classic fan service for people that like that kind of thing. I liked how they really tried to like put an in-universe explanation where he's like, it's public knowledge that all the Gundam Meisters are male, so this is a great disguise because no one's going to expect this.
Well, he was like, well, there's Regina, and she she looks like me but is a woman. So I can clearly pull this off if I can, like, find the right dress and the makeup and do my hair. Or do you think everybody at that ball, like, they all knew it was a man in a dress, but everyone's polite?
I mean, it's animation, so they gave him some assets to back it up, and I think people forgive when you have assets of a certain size. So I don't know. I think he probably passed. He probably passed. Yeah.
Everybody was at that ball too, even Arthur Goodman. I was surprised.
Oh, yeah. I bet he was checking out Tiara too. So.
Oh, I bet so. He's like, want to see my big ship?
Come aboard my
my
carrier. Tiara, I think he was the Meister with the best resolution.
Really?
Yeah, because you always kind of knew that Tiara was probably not like a real person to some extent, or sort of, it turns out to be an Innovade, and then he gets killed there, but he takes over Veda. Like, that's a unique evolution of his character. Like, we don't see that in other Gundam shows.
Yeah, appropriately, he did come off as the most like robotic kind of, right?
Yeah,
the most very logical in his approach to things. So sure, we'll put your spirit inside a computer.
Yeah, I think him and Smirnoff are the only ones in the show where I was like, okay, I kind of get that. I like that. I don't think Thierry was a very good pilot. He was always kind of losing if his big gun didn't work.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I liked him dying and taking over Veda. So that was kind of neat. I don't know. I thought that was good.
It was better than like the reveal that he didn't die from like 10 bullet wounds.
Yeah, it's better than when I look at Bland Setsuna, Lyle, who I don't care because he's not Neil.
Yeah.
And then Allelujah. Allelujah's plot was fine, but they resolved it like halfway through, and then he kind of just stuck around.
Yeah.
So Thierry, I felt like the pacing was properly timed. He had a big thing at the end where he took over, he disabled all the Celestial Being suits, so that was cool.
Something interesting that Graham says to Katagiri when they're like alone for the first time, I think, is I forgot what Katagiri says to him, but he's like, "Oh yeah, they call me Mr. Bushido. They like to fuss about nothing." Like, well, really? They invented the name Mr. Bushido, like the Outlaws? Imagine like a squadron in the Navy and like, some guy starts walking in wearing a cowboy hat and like, he's like, these people, they all call me cowboy now. I never told them to call me cowboy. I don't know why they do it. It's like, well, you're kind of asking for it there, buddy. Am I remembering correctly, or did we not see a scene where Soma Pyrrhus, and Smirnoff were living together?
We saw one scene, at least in the beginning of the season, where they were together. Is
this like romantic?
No, she was like the adopted daughter, yeah.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
Right, that's how I more saw it, as like a father-daughter type relationship.
But taking that a step further, and that was fine. I thought that was good, like let him adopt her, great. All the more reason why he doesn't need a son. He's got the adopted daughter now. That's a perfectly fine plot. Then, Isaac, she makes this terrible excuse to go back to fighting to be on the Outlaws' side. Because based on what we know of her from season 1, I don't believe that she aligns with the moral character of the Outlaws at all. Her excuse to going back to fighting made no sense. Her excuse was she felt bad that Smirnov was worried about her. And so that made her feel so, like, not human because she was, quote, a super soldier, that she was like, well, that must mean that the only thing I'm good at is war, so I should go back and sign up with the Outlaws.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it pretty much is. And especially since, like, it takes her away from him since he's in the regular military.
Right.
You think they would have been, like, the squadron together or something, but whatever. They needed plot development.
Well, that's my point. They did it because they needed the plot development, and that's not a good a good reason to do it.
Right. Like a lot of things in this season, it wasn't perfectly done. It wasn't even well done. Ribbon's comments that Memento Mori wouldn't have been built, at least as quickly, without, what's her name's help? May?
Oh, Wong Lu Mei?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's her deal?
I don't know.
Why is this character in the show?
She went from being, like, an ally of Celestial Being to, like, essentially throwing her lot in with Ribbons.
I don't remember that line. So, like,
Yeah.
what did she do? Did she give him information, or?
She's got money and stuff,
She
right?
got money?
They mentioned before she's the heir to some fortune or something or whatever. And then even in the Outlaws, I think there's a scene on a carrier when they're sending out the aquatic mobile suits that they were helped develop by her donations or something like that. So she's throwing money around to get a lot of weapons and stuff done. I think she thought she'd be part of the controlling elite of the new world, but Ribbons kind of puts her in her place and says, even you'll be replaced.
I felt her and Hong Long were superfluous, and they should have just been cut from the show.
Yeah, especially this season. Let's see. We had Captain Buzzcut, who dies attacking the asteroid base. I don't know if you remember, but that asteroid base attack, they're attacking the Catharon asteroid base. It reminded me a lot of the asteroid attack in Gundam X.
Oh, wow.
That's a bit of a reach.
It's been 20-something years since I watched Gundam X. I might need to refresh on that asteroid attack. But
oh, boy.
I'm going to say the Gundam X asteroid attack was better.
Yeah, it might have been. What did they use? Did they use nukes? They might have. I don't remember. I feel like the Outlaws should have protected Memento Mori more. It always seemed like they only had, like, a handful of ships protecting each Memento Mori. With the resources that the Federation has, it should have been like a fleet of hundreds,
Yeah.
But no. The coolest taking out of Memento Mori, I feel like, was the one with Lock-On, where they did the huge missile strike and then, like, it cracked open the armor and there was like this tiny little, I forgot what they called it, the flux capacitor.
Oh, yeah. They did the Death Star trench run.
Pretty much, yeah, and only Lock-On can hit it.
Right.
That was pretty cool.
No, I agree. I thought it was a good battle. It was very engaging. And to your point, I think my general thought on Season 2 is Season 2 had more stakes. I liked it more than I remembered, and it was more engaging than Season 1 because the sequence of events that they created, it was very good. I just disagreed with a lot of the foundation on which all of those events were happening, if that makes sense. Yeah. But they had the assault on Memento Mori, the orbital elevator collapse, even the opening episodes of getting the band back together. Those were all pretty well done. They were different Season 1. Memento Mori itself was pretty cool. I liked that.
I might have answered my own question, though, because as we already established, they can kind of pump out Memento Moris as they need them. So maybe the logic is we really don't need to defend it with, like, a huge fleet.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Also, too, some of the shenanigans that Celestial Being used when they destroyed maybe it was the first one or the second one. Like, they can't really defend against, like, the Ptolemy quantizing out of the way or whatever. Right, remember they shot him, but then, like, they used, like, the whole ship used Trans Am and it just moved out of the way?
Yeah, quantizing.
Like, the whole quantizing thing, the show really lost me there. I don't like the quantizing thing. The teleporting thing, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it happens at the end, too, when Ribbons is fighting Setsuna. And
it does.
Yeah, and the Ribbons is like, oh, he quantized or something.
Yeah.
Quantumized.
It happens there. It happens, Setsuna does it before that. Lock-On even does it once. The whole ship does it when they're doing the trench run, right? Aren't they going to get destroyed or something and they Trans Am out of the way or whatever? I was like, I don't like that. I know that's subjective, but the show really lost me there. I like the more tactical stuff, That just kind of seems a little Superman did it kind of thing, Yeah. I don't know.
There's a scene where Ian gets hit in the hangar bay. Ian was one of the few characters that I kind of liked. Generally, he seemed kind of cool.
I liked Ian.
So I'm glad he made it out okay. Yeah.
He was a little sexist though, right? When he was talking about a new, he's like, yeah, and she looks great too. And like his wife was right there. I was like, oh, this is a little awkward.
That's what she likes about him, that he just says what he feels.
Yeah, I guess so.
Let's see. This is the only series, and I'm talking about Ribbons and Setsuna, where someone was in a situation where they requested a Gundam be returned to them because they felt it belonged to them. I've never seen that in any other series. It was very odd.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little strange.
Right. Yeah, can't you just make one ribbons? Like, God.
Kind of related to that, like Setsuna idolizes the O Gundam, right? Because he saw it when he was little. Like he remembers that reactor.
Mm-hmm.
Did he not ask who was in the O Gundam before the end of the show when Ribbons reveals that it was him?
No, I don't think he ever asked.
But isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah, but I don't. Maybe he knew at that point. Like, there's no point in asking because it would only have to be one of the innovators.
Yeah, it just
Couldn't
feels
be
like he
Aeolia.
should. Like Celestial Being's not that big of an organization. You feel like he'd be like, "Hey, who was the one piloting that? Can I like meet the person and tell him thank you?"
Yeah. Something else this series shows is when the Outlaws are fighting the Gundams, they use kind of these electricity shocker things that show up a lot in Mobile Suit Combat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just always note how it's kind of weird that like the Gundams can take laser damage and stuff like that, but when it comes to electricity, oh boy, they never got a way to protect the pilot from like being shocked by electricity.
Yeah, they don't know how to rubber insulate your cockpit, I guess.
No, the shields can take lasers, but they can't take electricity. Let's see. Smirnoff and his son, why didn't he mention it? Well, because the writers hadn't thought of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I took.
Let's see. Memento Mori, are we to assume there's one over each orbital elevator? No, not really. It looks like they only put them to where they needed them.
Yeah. What about Ali, Isaac? He was like your favorite dude in season 1. He was like hardly here in season 2. What a waste.
Yeah, he really took a backseat and not for the better. His fight at the end was way too brief, and the way he went out was, it felt like Setsuna should have been the one to do that, not just because of their connection, but because being killed by the pistol by Setsuna would have been the other side of the coin for Setsuna using the pistol to kill his own family on Ali's orders.
Yeah, I think you either kill him off in season 1,
Yeah.
if you're not going to use him in season 2, and have Setsuna do it,
Mm-hmm.
or if you keep him to season 2, he could at least be some visual reason why Setsuna changes into an innovator. He could have him dead to rights with the pistol and refuse to kill him, and then he undergoes the change, something, forgiveness, etc. Expanded consciousness, something like that. He showed up for the middle fight with Setsuna a little bit, and then at the end to fight Lyle. If you take him out of season 2, then I guess Lyle has no opponent at the end, but then that just means Lyle was superfluous altogether.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was a big waste. Like, he was kind of like our main big bad in season 1, and it feels weird they invested so much in him in season 1 and then just kind of kill him off just to kill him off. Because he's one of those characters that is going to die by the end of the show.
Right, yeah.
It felt like checking a box to me.
Yeah, he kind of got reduced to a guard dog rather than like a Shaw role,
Yeah.
But, oh well. Let's see. Ribbon's eyes only go into glitter mode when he's thinking. Like, what was the rule about, like, the glitter mode?
Yeah, there was no walnut to tell you when it was going to happen.
No, it was used for, like, telepathy, but also when, like, he's just giving a speech. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. There were no rules with that.
I don't think there was a rule. I think they were just playing fast and loose.
There's that scene when they're taking out one of the Memento Moris, and they just use, like, a giant beam saber from the ground.
Oh, yeah.
But they shoot it next to the Memento Mori, and then they start cutting in. Like, wouldn't it have made more sense to just line it up and then,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, you have the tip of the beam saber go through the Memento Mori rather than, cutting through before they ran out of power. So that was very poor thinking.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's a reason why that makes sense. Because Gundam beam sabers, they're not lightsabers in the sense that they're light. I believe that they are like a superheated plasma type of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like you would get the same result, but faster, to your point, if you just directed it right at it. Because then it would start burning through right away instead of having to, quote, pull down. But then I guess they don't get the cool, like, slashing thing that they wanted.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. The heat of battle, they weren't quite on target.
Or, Isaac, you could have just nuked it.
Yeah, that would have been better. The Federation and Outlaws are really lucky the Gundam Meisters didn't just put their hands up and say, look, we know how to make nukes. Like, we could do a lot with nuclear weapons. But yeah, they didn't. This is one of the only series, if not the only series, where we have a very dark-skinned character as the head of the Earth Federation and the head of what is essentially the villainous faction. We almost never see very dark-skinned characters, Brian, so I thought this was very interesting.
I guess this was a good chance to...
He's gone by the end of the series. So
Yeah, that's true.
he gets replaced.
It's a good series to do it because there is so many characters and so many factions, so it does at least give the opportunity, right?
Right. And again, this series came out in what, 2007, 2008?
That's right, yeah.
So who else was a president during that time?
Oh, there you go.
Well, you got to look back, but it's pretty clear.
That may have been a little progressive, Isaac, but you know what wasn't progressive?
Uh-oh. What?
Again, Marie, Soma, whatever you want to call her, she joins the team, right? You know what they don't give her, Isaac? They don't give her a Gundam.
Of course they don't.
They give her a gym that kind of docks with a Gundam that is like literally saying, hey, you're part of the team, but you're not equal.
You're dependent on a man.
Exactly. Your thing literally docks with the man. And you know what? I liked her suit. It looked okay. It was fine. I mean, I wouldn't buy it or anything, but it was neat. But at the same time, you should have just given the girl a Gundam. Then we could have had 5 Gundams.
Yeah, man. Could they make it pink like the one for Kigali?
Oh, Jesus.
What do you think of Anu's little surprise attack on the bridge of the Ptolemy where she took them hostage?
I mean, I saw it coming a million miles away. So
was she doing this of her own free will, or was she like possessed by Ribbons Allmark?
No, she was possessed by Ribbons.
Okay. Yeah. So Lock-On did have a point. New Lock-On did have a point that she was going to become a new person. Literally.
Well, I mean, he saw her, though, have the googly eyes, and he did nothing about it. He knowingly was like, well, maybe it just, it'll work out. That's a terrible thing to assume in his position.
Oh, boy. Okay. Do you think this like thing with the naked souls floating in limbo with the glitter, is this like something we're not grasping that's like part of Japanese culture? Like it refers to like a Japanese purgatory or something that we don't know about? Or is this just something Gundam specific?
I think it's just their way of, representing expanded consciousness, whatever you want to call it. It's that concept of like an ethereal existence that's, greater than yourself. I don't necessarily have a problem with it all the time. Obviously, the Universal Century does it. The Seed has done it to some extent, not quite as direct as it was done in this show. Maybe what was out of place a little bit in this show is that they were more direct about it. I feel like in the UC, when it happens, it's happening in people's minds, sort of. But here, there was an actual system that like engaged it, right? Everyone could do it, so that's a little different. Okay. For better or worse. But if you're talking just about the depiction, I don't have like that much of a problem with it, other than to your point of like we've seen this kind of a lot, and so to kind of keep doing it is a little tropey. But at the same time, I don't know that they care about our opinion on that, because I don't think they made this for like Universal Century fans. Right? In their mind, they're thinking, well, I can't take into account that they've seen this a million times. I really care about the people that haven't seen it, because to them, they're not going to care what happened in, the other Gundams. So maybe for a lot of people, this is the first time they've seen that, and they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, I get it. So I could see it that way, but...
Yeah, good point, man. Let's see. So... they bring music into this series again. The kids make like a song about peace, and like it goes viral over the world. There aren't really any repercussions from that. They just say that like it's spreading and people want peace. So I thought that was very interesting, and it kind of they almost lack us the princess. All they need to do is make her start singing.
Yeah, I mean they do, but feel like they never went all in on Marina.
Yeah,
I feel like she should have had a stronger romance with Setsuna or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That could have worked. They already had their connection in the first one where they met, and she knows he's from their land because he clearly does not look like a Japanese man.
No, apparently he looks so Middle Eastern that you can spot exactly where he's from by driving by him at 50 miles an hour.
What a bad cover, too. Like, that guy walking in, my name is Takeshi Tagomi. He's looking at him and be like, you are not from Japan.
Sir, I may be American, but I'm not that dumb.
You have to step on the security line for a security screening. Let's see. I liked when Haro inside the Throne Gundam like kind of turned evil and turned around. Oh, yeah. And I was like, it turned into Ribbons, really. Yeah. It's like, you're a bad person too.
Yeah, Evil Haro was cool. I liked Evil Haro.
Yeah, I like the Outlaw ships. They had a very kind of sinister flying knife design to them.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we haven't talked about Mecha. Did you enjoy it? There was a lot more designs in this in the back half. Is there any that spoke to you either positively or negatively?
They're definitely more of an improvement. I definitely didn't like the Gagas. The Outlaws had some decent ones. Again, Mr. Bushido, his first one was great. Outside of that, though, no, it feels very, very Seed to me, where we had some largely mediocre designs all around. How about you?
I did not really like any of the main Gundams, the Celestial Being Gundams. I know a lot of people love the Double O Gundam, and really the Exia Gundam looks very similar. I do not like the Double O Gundam. I do not like the silhouette with the added O riser on the back. I mean, you know me, I'm not a big like backpack guy. Like,
yeah,
is it supposed to look like a cloak or something? Is that the logic? It just seems like a bigger target to hit to me. Like, how did no one cleave off one of those reactors in the middle in all this stuff?
Not just that, but like even in the first one, it's a bad design having like that dome sticking out the back. It throws it off. Like that Gundam can't lay flat on its back compared to almost every other Gundam.
Oh, that's a good point. I never thought about that. I know a lot of people love it though. I mean, it has a perfect grade, so obviously it's a lot of people's favorite Gundams. But I didn't like the other ones too much. I did like so my favorite designs from the show were actually not the Gagas, but I did kind of like the later Innovator suits. Primarily the one that a new piloted that was like a teal color, had a sword. It was called like the Goddess, I think.
Oh, okay.
And the one before that called the Garazo. Those looked very Tekka-man-ish to me in a good way. Mm-hmm. I actually really liked the Reborn's Gundam. It had like two sides. One flipped was like a gun cannon. I thought that was a big improvement over Alejandro's golden gem, from season 1.
Did you like the Gundam that had a giant Gundam face?
No. You know my stance, Isaac, on Gundams with giant Gundam faces, and I cannot stand behind this travesty. So no, I did not like whatever that one was, Cerevi or.
Yeah, you know what? I liked Ali's last suit. That was pretty cool, and I liked the one that what's her name used. What's Saji's girlfriend's name?
Louise.
Yeah, I liked her final suit, which just had like those massive claw arms.
That was the Regnant, I believe, the mobile armor. I thought that was actually pretty cool too. I thought of that as a mobile armor version of the Cubile.
Ah, okay. I can see that, yeah. Even the kind of curved designs that it has, like big curved
claws,
arms. Yeah,
exactly.
Just much more aggressive colors, yeah. Something that kind of bugged me towards the end of the series, though, was like, we're clearly heading towards a space battle, and what do? They take the orphans into space.
It's not Gundam if you don't shove kids into the battle zone.
It's like, well, you should just leave them on Earth. Like, no one's really hunting for those orphans,
Yeah, the battle was kind of over on Earth, right? Like, that would have been the safest spot.
Yeah, not only that, but like if you go to like, I don't know, the Federation capital, like under their noses, they're not going to target that with Memento Mori. You're fine,
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see. This felt somewhat similar, I know this is ahead of its time, but to Iron-Blooded Orphans, where the big fleet battle, the one big fleet battle, it happens at the end. That you only get one. Unlike Universal Century, where we have fleet battles every day. So they really try to save everything for the end, and I really did appreciate it because it was overall a pretty good fleet battle. This series didn't do everything terrible.
Again, I do commend them for the sequence of events that they created. I thought it was very fast paced. Mm-hmm. It was engaging. I just didn't agree with basically any of the characters' motivations.
Yeah. I thought by the end, like, this kind of is a no-brainer. I thought they would have a Memento Mori built on, like, a capital ship.
I mean, they kind of did on Celestial Being. It was sort of the same thing.
Oh, the asteroid thing? Well, I meant, like, one load to the Outlaws. But the one Ribbons had was really essentially Memento Mori on an asteroid, but it looked a little bit more powerful. But yeah.
Yeah, just with a Tau drive as a bullet.
We're talking about the end now, but the kamikaze thing was ridiculous. Like, why not just use missiles? This is just highlighting, I guess, Ribbon's disregard for human life. Going along further, the GN particles turning into the Axis light. A bit of a throwback and a callback, but I didn't care too much for it.
Yeah, about the Gagas, I mean, like I already said, I feel like there was just too many. Like, they overdid the animation because there was just thousands coming out of Celestial Being. There's no way that it held that many, nor is it possible that they had the resources to build that many, first of all. This goes back to our question of, like, didn't anyone notice all of their giant orders for all of these mobile suit parts or all of the precious metal in the world, trying to build these things? I think one thing that, like, really was evident as the show went on, this show has a really bad case of, I mean, every Gundam show does this, so it's not like this is unique to this show in particular, but that one trope, I forget exactly what the trope is, but like it's like the Mook syndrome, right? Where things are really hard to beat in the beginning, and then towards the end of the show, they just blow them up like they're nothing.
Yeah.
By the end, the Jinxes and everything that the Aloths were using, they were getting destroyed in one hit. But 20 episodes ago, it was hell on earth to destroy one of those things.
Yeah.
So what happened? And then the same with the Gagas. There were thousands of them. Shouldn't they be roughly equivalent to Jinx? If there's thousands of them, like, we're gonna lose. Like that whole situation seemed unwinnable.
Yeah, it was just they use a laser to take out a bunch of them from the Gundams, and then they had capital ships shooting missiles at them. So it was very poor strategies by Ribbons. Katagiri. There's a scene where who's he confronting on the asteroid? Was it Kujo?
Yeah.
Okay, he has like an automaton guard with him. Did you catch that?
Yeah, he had like a whole little squadron with him.
Yeah, and then they all leave.
Yeah, because she kind of like, she apologizes, right? And they hug.
Yeah.
I did not like her resolution. I felt like her character took a bit of a step back in the back half.
Uh-huh.
I felt like we should have seen her take more physical action at the end to like end a threat. Really sort of driving home that she's gotten over her fear of loss, and instead of like sitting on the bridge, she's actually taking, direct action to prevent something from happening. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like they just didn't know what to do with her kind of towards the end.
She kind of ended up back where she started. You know, she's back on the ship.
Right. Like, so
there's no growth.
In my mind, is she still an alcoholic?
Probably. I mean,
yeah. So I don't know.
We never saw any way or the other, like one way or the other. We didn't see if she quit or she continued.
Yeah. So I'm not sure.
Man.
What about some of our other people, like their endings that we haven't talked about? What about Saji and Louise? Did you believe their plot? Because I didn't. I didn't believe their whole her turning bad at all. This is the same issue I had with Seed, but with Kira and Atherin at odds after what has happened. These two people were clearly in love.
Right.
They had known each other for years. The entire plot is built on an improbability that I cannot accept. They just had no contact, and like once they saw each other, they didn't just send each other an email or a text and be like, "Hey, what's going on? Were you in that battle?" They could have been resolved. Like, why are they not talking to each other? This doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. That's one of the weaker endings I felt compared to like some of the happier ones we got. You know, like Colasaur and Mannequin.
That was hilarious. I mean, I wasn't like a huge Colasaur fan, or really even the Mannequin fan, but that was a pretty funny ending.
Even Allelujah and Marie joining a hiking group was kind of silly. I thought, like, it made me laugh. Like, of all the endings, like that, I wouldn't have thought like them going on a hike would be one of them. You know, going camping, backpacking across the ruins of the world.
I liked that they had a happy ending. I didn't mind their story. I just felt that it was resolved halfway through the season, so there wasn't really any tension too much with them, other than I guess Soma came back at the end. So it was like, will Marie come back, I guess? But like, whatever. She was already on their side.
Oh, I forgot to ask you. What did you think of Ribbons Gundam?
Oh, Reborns. I liked it. I thought it was good. Yeah. So that was one of the ones I liked. I don't know how you felt about it, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was neat that it had two sides. It was different.
Yeah, cool colors. Yeah.
Yeah, it was neat. It was white and red. We don't see that a whole lot. So
no, very rare.
I liked how they did it too. It was a threat in one form, and then when you thought maybe there's a chance, it turned around and it was even worse, for Setsuna. So that was kind of cool. Overall, I liked the final battle. I thought it was good how they got in the old Gundams. So I would build a Reborns model. It wouldn't be, I'm not going to go...
high grade.
I'm not going to go chase one down. That's actually an interesting thing. Did you know, Isaac, there's no master grades of basically any of the Season 2 suits other than like 00.
Wow.
Yeah, all the master grades. There are master grades for 00, but I'm pretty sure they're all the Season 1 suits.
I wonder why. Maybe one side of the fan base is right, and the numbers really weren't on 00's side. So Bandai said, we're not even putting money into these suits, and it's not happening.
I thought that was interesting. There's probably high grades, I'm sure, because those are obviously cheaper to make. But like, you can't get a master grade Masarao or whatever, a Susanoo or whatever the hell he was piloting.
No, I don't think I would even. This show wasn't strong enough for me to get it compared to like Iron-Blooded Orphans, where there's a lot of things I like, and it was a much better show. But no, for this, no master grades. I'm fine with that.
Is there any suit in this show that you would build?
Maybe. What was it called? The mobile armor that she had?
Oh, it was called I think it was the Regnant.
Regnant. Maybe the Regnant or one of Ollie's mobile suits.
Okay.
Actually, you know what would be cool? The mechanical spider from season 1
Oh, wow.
that he pilots. But I mean, there's nothing like it. It'd be kind of interesting, right? And then inside is a regular mobile suit.
That thing looked really menacing. I liked it in the show. I thought it was good. I mean, it
Gets taken out in
survived
one
for
shot.
it's got like a strong 30-second showing, but that's about it, right?
Okay, my last thing is the show ends with the Federation deciding to give freedom back to the Middle East and Azerbaijan, and they bring in members of Catharon into the government, which is like, what?
Yeah, that seemed a little far-fetched from reality.
Right, yeah, especially since the Federation this whole time is trying to unify the world, so giving freedom back to any part of it kind of makes you take a few steps back. But whatever, they have to do their obligatory happy ending with peace and things going back to normal. And those are all my notes for this interesting, kind of wacky series. Definitely an improvement over the season 1, but man, season 2 was it left much to be desired. What are some of your comments and notes still about either the suits or the characters or anything else you wrote down?
One thing I thought about after the fact was that the season 1 ending is actually pretty similar to the season 2 ending. I think that's a little not great.
It's a little Prometheus.
Setsuna fights Alejandro in a gold thing that he's never seen before. Season 2, Setsuna fights Ribbons in a gold thing that no one's seen before. Like, we kind of just did this with Alejandro, and maybe Ribbons isn't a great character, but he's much more interesting than Alejandro was. So why did I care about Alejandro? Why was he in this show? Like, Alejandro was sacrificed for Ribbons to ascend, but we could have just started with Ribbons. I rather would have just spent 20 more episodes learning about Ribbons' stuff with Allelujah. So it just made me question why we had so much time in season 1 without Ribbons. Like, why was Alejandro in the show at all?
Right, especially since they were essentially mirror images as far as their purpose for wanting to rule the world and be behind these conspiracies. Ribbons really didn't come off as a big bad, really. He really felt like Alejandro's apprentice in the first one. So now in this one, I felt like he lacked menace behind him. It almost would have been better if there was revealed that there was, like, I don't know, a second computer that he built, What would it be called? I don't know.
Diva or something instead of Veda.
Yeah, Iron Fist. I don't know. Whatever. And, what's the opposite of Veda? A dev. It's called a dev.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying Diva.
Diva, yeah. He built
Or
Diva.
Deva, yeah.
He thinks he's controlling Diva, and then at the end they revealed that, oh no, Diva was controlling him. And his eyes do like all the, the crazy stuff, and he gets into a mobile suit, and that would explain why all the kamikaze stuff, right? Because the computers actually control, but whatever, we never got that. Instead, Ribbons is just an Alejandro with like androgynous clothing.
Maybe they wanted some mystery with Ribbons, and that's why they waited so long. What would have helped the show is if a new had been there from the beginning. By the time she's introduced, you already know she's an innovator right away. So there's no tension with that reveal. There's no surprise. But had she been part of the Ptolemy from the beginning, that would have been a lot more impactful if she died and was revealed to be under Ribbon's control, revealed to be an Innovate. You would suspect her less if she'd been there the whole time.
Yeah, man.
And so I think that's related to the whole Ribbons thing, because I feel like they didn't really flesh out, and I could be wrong again, but it feels like they didn't really fully understand where they wanted to go with the Innovator plot until the second season. And I feel like the show could have been served better if they had planned it all out.
Really, what would have served us better is the reveal at the end of what Aeolia's full plan was. And like, did Aeolia know that there would be an Alejandro character who would essentially be cooed by a Ribbons Allmark character, who would have his own almost near coup by a Regina character, and then who would then be killed by the true celestial being, which was everybody on the Ptolemy.
Right.
It's such a chain reaction of people thinking they're in charge and being killed. Thinking they're in control of Aeolia's plan and being killed. Just do like an episode where Aeolia tells us the plan.
Well, and they had the perfect opportunity in season 1 with Saji's sister. All of that could have been revealed throughout her investigation, but they killed her off and they stopped the investigation because that's what she was investigating, remember? Aeolia.
Yeah.
That was the viewer's link to the background lore of the show, and then they stopped and they didn't do it.
The writer said no. This is as far as you get.
Yeah, I guess so. And then my last thing is that, this show, out of all the other alternate universes, I feel like they tried the hardest to replicate the new type concept in terms of empathy and understanding by this whole, like, I'm going to become an innovator. And the purpose of that is we're not going to bring our war baggage with us, and we're going to have this expanded empathetic consciousness type of thing. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I just think if you leave it there and you say, you know what, we solve this and it's going to be good in the long, long, distant future when someday we might meet some aliens. But aliens show up 2 years later in the movie, and that seems very, very convenient. So I don't really like that. And if we're really going to do that, I gotta have a more introspective protagonist that has a lot more spacey type opinions than Setsuna. Like, if you're telling me Setsuna is our ambassador to aliens, I don't know, man.
He's a terrible choice.
Yeah, does Setsuna have a cosmic perspective on life that would make, Carl Sagan proud? Because I don't think he does.
He's traumatized. He's only worked as a Gundam pilot. He's way too young. He's damaged goods. He can't be the representative. And if we're not taking war into space, if that's the whole point of Aeolia's plan, my God, why are people who've all they've done is be involved in wars kind of our little vanguard, no pun intended, into space? It's a pretty silly plan, especially as we come to see that in the new movie, there's a lot of conflict, even if it's not called outright war. It feels a lot like a war.
Right. And I mean, maybe someone would make the argument like you don't get to choose who your ambassador is, and that's fine.
We should.
But maybe I would say my response to that would be, I could even still have him be that, but he needs to give me more as the main character to tell me why his perspective has shifted. Because I'm an innovator now, and I felt like I was like, okay, I still don't understand how it happened really. But did you notice, Isaac, before I give my rating?
Sure.
The same person who voices Setsuna in the dub also voiced Amuro in the dub. I don't know if you caught that.
Sorry, buddy. I listened. I didn't catch it. Are you sure?
I am positive. And
wow.
he, I believe it's Brad Swale, or I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But season 1 Setsuna didn't sound like Amuro at all.
No.
But season 2, 5 years later, he definitely had a few moments where I was like, oh, I can hear the Amuro there.
Wow.
And I feel like they maybe chose him on purpose because, again, this show tends more towards that new type outlook a little bit, or at least that seems to be the intention. So I wonder if that was done on purpose. Or maybe he was just, the guy available for the job. So
good point. Yeah, maybe it was. I completely missed that. No, I didn't hear that in my head at all. It was a good unique portrayal. I felt a bit monotone in this second season, but yeah, I didn't catch the Amuro. Wow.
Well, he doesn't have a whole lot of lines, to be honest. So
True.
Overall, I enjoyed the dub. I thought the dub was really good. I had no problems with it.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like Ali had the funnest time with his voice.
That's probably true. Yeah. All right, so my overall opinion, I think it was a elaborate, carefully crafted, and well-executed plot, but it didn't take me with it. I didn't find the characters engaging, and the show for me feels a bit artificial. It feels too purposely crafted to hit too many demographics. I admire its attempt to sort of emulate or expand on the new type concept. I applaud its use and demolition of the space elevator and working it into a super weapon. Overall, the mobile suits designs were not a hit for me. I think a good series requires both a well-executed and well-designed plot along with memorable characters that you care about, and this lacked the character aspect for me. But I understand why people would like it, especially if this was what got you into Gundam. But to me, it doesn't have the vibe of Wing or the character charm of Seed, and that makes it less memorable than either one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
People love those two series, but I would say their plots are in worse shape than this series' plots, if I include Seed Destiny. So in the end, I think what I'm saying is I think characters count more, because I have no desire to revisit these characters again, Isaac.
But Brian, the prequel mangas. But Brian, the side story mangas.
Yeah, for those of you who love this show, you're in luck, because there's a pretty decent amount of prequel and sequel lore, that you can go read in the mangas and stuff. But
Brian, the source material.
Yeah,
you're completely disregarding the source material.
This is just one of those that's just not going to work for me. So overall, I'm going to give this series a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Not my favorite. Not one I'll be revisiting anytime soon. But I understand why people would like it. But I hope that I have explained why I don't like the show. Because as you saw, the only characters that I think I liked by the end were Tieria and Smirnov. And I did not like Smirnov's son. And then to an extent, Allelujah and Soma. But I don't really know what quantum brainwaves do and why they're a super soldier. So
I see.
There you have it.
All right. Well, I respect your decision, and I'm somewhat in sync with you with my own chart scale. This series is very serviceable. It's an okay Gundam series. Could have done a lot of with more improvement, I feel like. Could have been done better. Definitely better than Season 1. Good fleet battles, though, overall. Pretty decent pacing and storyline. Good battles, interesting stuff like that. Can't recommend it at the top of my list, but overall, not a bad watch. Not a great watch. I give it 3 out of 5 GN drives.
Ooh, I like that. And they sparkle
Yeah.
too, like, you know.
And there's the bootleg ones from Temu. They're the red sparkles. Oh, no. They don't work as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, listeners, let us know what you thought about the show, characters. What did we get wrong? What did we get right? What do you agree with us, disagree with us?
Yeah.
But above all else, as Isaac said, never buy anything off Temu.
And don't trust innovators.
Yeah, they'll get you. Especially when their eyes go all Anakin Skywalker on you.
Yeah, oh boy, that's bad.
Take us away, Isaac.
All right, listeners, before you go to sleep tonight, stand next to your bed, put your hands together, get on your knees, look up at the ceiling, and hail celestial being.
Good night, everybody.